Shut up and sit down.
Hey everybody, Adam back with another episode of the Bowhunter Chronicles podcast brought to you by Tacticam, the easiest way to share your hunts. You can check them out at tacticam.com. So we got to start this off by saying we unfortunately, due to the change, are not going to be able to make it to the Total Archery Challenge at Boyne Mountain this year. After looking over our schedules, Ernie, Frank, and the rest of our group are headed up to Colorado. The season starts the Monday following, so they're taking off during that time. And then John is going to be headed out to Montana. So that kind of leaves us out as far as being able to make it and still have time to do our hunting and continue on with those Western elk hopes and dreams. So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to make it up to that event this year. It's something that we look forward to every year, seeing everybody and catching up and getting to do, what we do, which is, talk to everybody about bow hunting and shoot and kind of catch up. So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to make that. This episode here is kind of broken up into two episodes. So this is going to be the early season turkey with John and Ernie's hunts, and we're actually back together again. So that's fun. It's a good episode. Uncle Frank has a few sodas in him, so you get the full experience of kind of what we bring to the table. And I just want to say thank you guys for following along. Thanks to the Patreons. If you want to check out our Patreon page, you can go to patreon.com/Bowhunter Chronicles podcast and see what that's all about. We do quarterly giveaways. We got a Facebook group. We do Zoom meetings and chats and kind of catch up with everybody. This quarter, we're giving away a Traeger Wi-Fi enabled pellet grill. It's the 575 Pro Series, I believe. We're also giving away a Tacticam solo package, as well as a package from Basemap, one of their pro packs, 1-year subscription, as well as a swag pack from them. And you can check all that out, and then definitely check out our YouTube page. We've got everything. We reference it in this episode quite a bit, but we're starting to get some more of these hunting videos put up and trying to drive some content over there. There'll be a live version of this podcast, the video podcast, and I'm going to edit in kind of what we're talking about. So it'll be cool to kind of hear us break down and explain everything that's going on, as well as that. And that'll be out for the Patrons here real soon. And, thank you everybody for following along, listening, and sticking with us. Hope everyone's doing well in this trying time. It's kind of all I got. I know you're going to like this episode. Like I said, lots of Uncle Frank. So with that said, enjoy the episode. Thank you so much for listening. Hey everybody, Adam back with another episode of the Bowhunter Chronicles podcast. We're sitting here actually in the studio 6 feet, 2 arm lengths apart, roughly. But here in Michigan, we can allow 4 people in the store. We can do this, that, and the other thing. So we're right on the border here. I guess if we were a business, we could be open. Anyways, we're going to go and kind of talk about our turkey season, kind of everything. It's been, I don't know, personally, I would say probably the most fun turkey season. I mean, last year was really fun, and kind of get into that because I've got some thoughts about like how our season went and kind of where I guess how I feel about my season in particular. But we got everybody here. We said John, Ernie, Frank, and just getting you guys spun up with what's been going on. So I guess John, since your season and Ernie's season were the first seasons because you guys kind of got screwed out of hunting last year just because of time and everything. What was the setup this year as far as like how we were going into it and the approach?
Well, this year I decided I was going to try to shoot one with a guillotine head or a bull head. So we were going to set up a close, kind of like what your setup was last year, but real close.
That was close.
Close. Close.
We have a mix of private and public. I was trying to scout out the public lands, been up just north of our place. This year also we decided to stay in our county.
Right.
So
which I think was a good thing because of what was going on. Right?
Yeah, because last year was awesome. You know, we had fun, good time being up north and all of our old spots, but we could hunt more. I think around here, being close to home, we can get more hunts in than just a weekend up north and
nowhere's near the travel time.
Right. Yeah. So I'd been doing some scouting. I'd found some birds, in my deer hunting spot from last fall. I seen birds, so I went up there, located some birds, kind of got some somewhat patterns down, and then we had been getting consistent pictures on the cameras from the cell cameras on the private property, so we knew there were some good birds there, and I guess we just kind of went from there.
But you had been scouting, and you had these birds down to a science for your opening day on the public with no cameras, anything like that. How did you find those birds, or what made you go up to that spot or whatever?
Like I'd spotted those. I mean, I'd seen a bunch of birds and a bunch of sign and stuff up in the fall, and I had a tag in the fall, and I actually got fairly close to a couple hens, but so that was, and it was in our area and public, close to home. So I just started going up there and just walking around, and the very first night I went up there, I parked my truck, and I think there was actually a video. As I pulled in, I seen a hen take off. Then I walked around, and I seen another hen, and then walked all the way back and circled. As I was coming back to my truck, there was two hens feeding right next to my truck, down way back in the woods. I was like, well, the birds are here. So, and then I went over to another section, ended up locating some, strut zones, dust bowls, and stuff like that. Seen some really good, gobbler tracks, and so I just kind of went up probably 3 or 4 different times during the, different times of the day, and end up locating the birds and kind of finding where they were. Kind of around 11 o'clock, there was like a little strut zone, and they were crossing. So that was one of the areas that we were going to key in on, and then I'd always go up. I'd always make sure to get up there in the evening too, because there's a lot of traffic in that area, and there's a little pipeline, lots of dirt and stuff. So during the day, with all like dirt bikes and just people, especially being on this, COVID lockdown stuff, people are just out walking and doing stuff around their houses. And there's a decent population of houses right up around in that area.
Riding their bikes.
Right, walking their dogs. Yeah. So in the evening, I would know that, if there was fresh tracks that weren't all, on top of all the other tracks, I knew, and which way they were going, I would kind of have an idea, like where they'd be roosted. And so I did that several nights. And then right before, opening day, got up there, ended up spotting some birds. And I, pretty much put them to bed. I figured, I kind of figured where they were at, like got down.
Kind of figured where they were at. A little tight. Ended up, I'm sure our listeners already heard that story. Whew.
We kind of talked about it on.
I think we talked about it on the Huntervore podcast that's coming out this week. So I don't think we actually got into the tail.
Yeah, we can get to that.
Of the closeness, you mean?
Yeah, yeah. So
pinpoint accuracy.
Like being underneath the birds, when you get out there, or what?
So you put these birds to bed, and so that's where you and I were hunting.
Yep.
And so then Frank and Ernie were on a whole nother piece of property, everything. So what was your guys' plan, and what did you guys have set up?
Well, we went over the couple days before, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So a couple days before. Well, it was where I missed the biggest turkey in Michigan last year.
It was state record.
Because I did shoot a little quick, I mean, I was a little premature, I think, on the shot, But we went back over there and we kind of reassessed where we were, and then Adam's brother told us, well, we can hunt this property too. So we looked at it, and that's where we set the tent then, little bigger area, I think, and it was a little broader, and the birds kind of frequented it a little bit more. So
we've seen stuff going on there last year.
Well, yeah. Well, the birds went through there. So that's kind of what we did and we set the tent there, and then we set the other tent too at another piece of property that we had, right? Mm-hmm. And it was private land, but we set that tent down there and thinking, this is, seen a lot of turkeys on the camera and stuff, so we're good to go. So
you guys had two options, two different tents set up.
Well,
and with John and I, we went in and we brought the tent with us. And like, if you look on the Instagram, there's a little,
right.
John showcasing his sense of humor there.
Stalking ability.
Yeah, and it's more run and gun is maybe not be the proper term to use, but that's basically what you guys were doing. You were going and setting up, and if you had to move later, you'd pack it up and go, whereas these other spots are set up for you show up, do your thing. If it happens, it happens, and you back out. We leave those setups there.
Johnny's more like shuffling gun.
I was trying to be like,
I've never done that with a tent before, but I thought it was pretty cool though. I mean, it was effective.
I got that from the Toy Story movies where where Woody and Buzz are sneaking into the pizza planet.
When he was doing that walking, I swear to God, I thought I seen a 1 gallon Ziploc come out of the bottom of the tent.
Oh no.
Maybe not.
No, I don't.
We'll have to review the footage.
Yeah, hey, I just talked to him the other day. We were doing some stuff in the back of the truck. He still had it in there. I'm serious.
Another story.
And for the Patreons that get on the Zoom chat, maybe you'll find out what the
you could add that to one of your stories, Frank.
No, one of his stories.
Well, that might be the closing argument today.
Yeah.
So, John, we get we get out, and I'd never been to this property ever, so I am just following John. I drive over to John's house, and it's just one of these things. When we get into like the filming aspect of this, like last year, it was like a trial run for whitetail season, and this year was like a trial run with getting everybody in there, and then we're using the tact cams. We got all these different SD cards and all this stuff, and I mean we had like 7 cameras, and for the 4 of us, that's a reasonable amount, because you could have 2 or 3 with one set of guys, and 2 or 3 just point of view cameras and stuff like that. But managing all the SD cards, I get over to John's, and he's like, I gave you all the SD cards, I don't have any. And I'm like, really? And he's like, I told you that. John tells me things very subtly, like it's not like there's no reminder. It's once, and and it was a week ago. So I get over there, and luckily we don't live too far apart, so I drive over there and go back, and John was really antsy. I mean, completely different Frank and Ernie's versus where John and I were at, because it was public land and there is a lot of traffic, and so
we had a lot of traffic too.
Yeah, you guys were on private property near a road, so it's completely different.
Traffic's traffic.
Whoa, what's the bitch?
So,
I want to thank whoever that was that unlocked their car too.
Yeah, right.
Kind of helped me out.
So we get over there and we go past this like homeless guy's encampment, and we park, and then we're walking down, and you know, and to this is my fault really, but I don't have John's video edited for his hunt or for that day or for anything, because we'll get to that in a second, but I did it. We had every single camera that we had running at the same time, so there's like 17 angles, and it's just absurd. But at this point, it's in the morning, and we're, you know, he's showing me on the base map. He pulls it up, and he's saying, okay, this is where we need to go, and yada, 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 and then we take off down the thing. And
yeah, and so, you know, my plan was to walk down this old, like, abandoned 2-track, and you know, we're walking in the dark, no headlights, nothing, and we're, you know, just like, all right, we got to get up here, and then I pull up, I'm like, better check, and I pull it up, and I'm like, oh shit, we're too far, we're like where the birds I think are at, you know, so we need to back up a little bit. So
gotta back up, beep beep beep.
So we backed up a little bit. Then we got,
you guys are already in there. You know, you're in the wheelhouse.
So you must have been like right under him when you decided to back up.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, he could have probably shit on us when.
Oh, see, here's the deal.
I know he wasn't lying. He said he had him pinpointed.
Uncle Frank's rule: you don't need to get too close.
Well, I wasn't. Here's the thing.
Saying,
it's not like I
tried to explain to you.
Sometimes
guys,
you don't realize.
Well, that's the thing. I was guessing. You know, like I was 160 yards from there that night through the pines when I put him to bed. You know, I just heard him gobbling, and I just kind of like, okay, there's a transition. There's a pine, you know, section of pine, section of cut hardwoods, and I just assumed that they'd probably be on that edge. They weren't going to be probably in the pines, but they'd be on the edge. And sure enough, you know, they were literally right on the edge on that old 2-track right up above us, you know. So I mean, I got pretty close to, you know, pinpointing them. I mean,
I'd say you pinpointed them pretty goddamn good.
There they are.
You know?
So,
you know.
So then, you know, we backed up a little bit, set up, and, you know, it started getting daylight, and birds are gobbling. I mean, all around us, off in the distance. You know, nothing
all around us.
Yeah, well,
like
or
on top.
The ones above us didn't freaking gobble.
Well, you know why though? They're looking down at you, going like
they were strutting up there.
What are them guys doing down there?
And John's missing like one key part of this story. I feel like
where's the
like
lights?
He says we got to back up. We turn around, and then we've got this tent, right? And it's in the dark, no headlights. And he's just fucking boom, bang, boom, like motherfucker, like, and setting up this tent. And like, we were in by no means quiet, like getting set up.
I mean, as quiet as you can setting up a freaking tent, but it was pitch black too. I mean, we're, you know.
Here's the thing though. Turkey's sitting up in a tree above you, going, holy shit, George! What the hell's going on now?
Right,
this ain't normal. You know what I mean?
Well, for sure.
These ain't coyotes running around.
Oh.
This is something different.
Right. So yeah, we got set up, and you know, yeah, it definitely wasn't quiet. I mean, there's no being quiet setting up one of them tents, them hub tents. But we got set up, got the decoys out. You know, starts getting daylight. We start hearing all the gobbling around, and I'm like, you know, I'm sitting in the tent, so my, you know, the sound and everything just coming in just the front windows is weird. You know, it's hard to tell which direction they're coming
really
from,
loud, right?
or how close they are. and I hear some gobbles. I'm like, and Adam's sitting outside behind me. I'm like, Adam, you hear that?
No.
Hey, you hear that one? No. You hear that one? Yeah, I heard that. Heard a gobble. And then, you know, so then they just start lighting up. That's, you know, all around. Well, then all of a sudden I'm like, I hear, and I'm like,
yeah, you're pretty close.
I'm like, I'm like,
what are you doing?
I'm like, Adam, you hear that? And he didn't answer. I'm like, oh shit. they must be coming in, because it sounded like it was right out, like to my right, like down this little hill. It sounded like they were, and it sounded like it was moving. And I'm like, Doop. So I'm like, oh, so I sit there and I wait a few more minutes, and it's gray light now. I mean,
yeah,
you can see
it started getting light, and the birds are gobbling literally 360 degrees around us, and a car had already gone by on the main 2 track that when we saw, and we're like, all right, well, and yeah, when they gobbled the first time, it was still pretty dark, but it was like, man, they're close, and then it got to be gray light, and we were like on the top of this hill. And I was like, at any moment, I kept looking underneath this pine tree because it was like sounded like it was coming like right from there, And then John, before this, like our communication was like, so am I going to call? Are you going to call? Or like whatever. And he's like, I'm confident in my calling, so I can call. But he's like, I'll tell you when to call or whatever. And then these turkeys gobbled like right on top of us, and then it happened in like series. There was like what ends up is there was a couple of birds, but they were gobbling the close one, and then the far one, and then the close one, and then the far one, and then it would stop. And I think this is where John's at, because this is when like he gets out his call, and I
get out my call, and I'm like, I'm just gonna do a little purr, just cluck and purr. And
yeah.
For one, I carried I only brought one slated just because Adam was going to do the main calling, and I was like, well, and I brought it in my bino harness in the back of the back of it, so it's like right up against my chest, and I had my, I'm walking in and I had my
heat,
yeah, so
moisture,
yeah, so and I had my coat unzipped, and I start it. I could purr with it a little bit, but it was like I'm just trying to be real quiet, and it's like. And then, but that fucking bird gobbles like right there. And then I tried doing a little more, and it was just like, I'm like,
friction calls, man. With the moisture, we got moisture, man.
And I throw the thing down on the ground.
All of a sudden, the slate comes out from underneath the tent.
God damn it!
Yeah, friction calls and moisture, man. You gotta watch it.
And so at about this time, like I've got the camera and I'm moving it more towards the sound of the noise, towards the sound of the gobbles. And what I'm getting is I'm picking them up on I can see the monitor from the thing. And then all of a sudden I look up, and this was before that actually, because when you were like just scratching it across there, I seen that bird in the tree just go whoosh. And I was like, oh, we fucked up.
It's right above us.
Like, these birds could, and this is the first year that I've ever, like, got in on turkeys that were, like, still in the tree. And I've, a couple times now, but that was the first time. And, like, seeing them pitch down, like, that turkey they'd have flown over us like they were, like, landing. They would have had to drop out of the tree they would have dropped, like, right where you could shoot them. They were 30.
Actually,
they
fell out of the tree at them. They call it falling out.
Hit them on the bounce.
They fall. They can't actually fall down in front of you. They don't. They put their wings out. They fly down. They don't fall down.
Well, I mean, they were 35 yards away. The branch that they were on, and like I did end up getting one of them on the camera when it took off. So.
Yeah, so needless to say, we were too close. They pitched off, went off the other way, but they gobbled, and we seen them, for quite a while. But
go away, right?
Yeah.
No, well, they were going back and forth.
They were going back and forth.
Yeah, they kind of went back and forth. And then they give you the bird.
So, see
any hens up in the trees?
Yeah, well,
there was one hen.
There was a hen with the one gobbler.
Yeah.
And the night before, when I roosted those birds, right before I went into that section, I went through this old subdivision, and there's only one house up, or two houses in this whole subdivision, just never sold. And So I drove through there, and that's when I seen there was like 8 birds, and they were heading that way onto the public. So then that's when I circled back, come down and around, and I put them to bed. So they all 8 of them birds were right in there.
Right.
And there was like 2 toms and a couple jakes, and then the rest were hens. Well,
all shooters.
so they all ended up, pitching down. The other birds were still north of there is what the deal was, and they all kind of went in that same direction. Then they just kept going back and forth, and they end up on that private. So I'm sure that they were at that one house that probably had a bird feeder.
Well, in that deal there, you find them birds like that, they have a pattern that they,
Right.
they'll go to an area, they'll strut, or whatever. They do a similar
Sometimes it's
time
a
of
really
the day.
big pattern too.
Yeah.
As we found up on
Right.
Crystal Mountain.
These turkeys do things very similar every day. You know what I mean? They'll
Right.
get down off the roost. If they roost in the same spot, they'll strut in the same spot. They'll feed.
Right. And that was what I was seeing.
Circle.
And that was like it's exactly what I was kind of seeing. Like they'd roost in that area then, and then they'd make their way north, and then circle up, and then there was like the pipeline where there was
Right.
a bunch of dust bowls. And I'd seen them strutting up there, and then they'd kind of circle back up, and then get up into that other section, that northwestern section where we'd see them around 11 o'clock.
Right.
And
Because turkeys just do what turkeys do, right, Adam?
Yeah, they do turkey shit.
I just
Got all day to do it.
Right.
that's
they have
what
no
do.
timeline. They're just like
They don't like say, well, geez, at 11 o'clock, I'm going to be 5 miles over there.
right.
They're
Well,
not going to do that.
Creatures of habit.
They're gonna follow a pattern that they do, and it's within. I've seen birds move a mile, haven't we? Or at least a mile.
Oh, Crystal Mountain. Remember the
up
massive
that
circle they would
that
do?
was probably some of the farthest birds we've ever had to go
And it took us
after.
2-3 days to figure it
Yeah,
out. I said,
yeah.
Jesus, they did the same thing, and they were
Every-
covering several miles.
miles every day.
So then we learned where to go to intercept them.
Yeah,
Same stuff.
and we got successful.
Right. And that's what we were working on
Right,
up there.
right.
Yeah, you just got a little too close.
But it's a learning experience
Right.
with turkeys.
That was the
what I
thing I
mean?
didn't-
And turkeys, like I say,
and-
they're residential turkeys are different from public land turkeys or big land turkeys. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Open
They're all
country.
different.
Well, and while this is happening, John's hearing my pocket go. Bzz, bzz, bzz.
That might have been us.
Yeah. So that was basically what happened for us there. We did move and we got them to gobble, and it did sound like they were coming closer to us. And then we circled around on the property and everything. But this is already after my pocket was going off. And so how did your guys' day start? I mean, ours started well before daylight. Ours was quite dark.
We started out.
Well, we got out of the vehicle there. I didn't need a
before
flashlight.
Before that, though, we got a Long John. It's a Wesco.
Oh, yeah. You had to get fuel.
Aaron had to get
Frank
some
just
fuel,
happened to run into a couple long
and
johns.
I got some Long Johns and
I didn't have
some
one.
coffee. And we ended up going over there, and like I say, we had the tent set up. So Aaron gets in the tent. I'm outside the tent with the camera and got all set up with the calls and everything, And God, we sat there for quite a while, didn't we?
Your
Well,
Haggard
when you
outfit.
first,
Yeah.
when he first called and ran a little series of slate calls,
No, that's too big. It's underneath.
He,
it's there though. It's there.
nothing happened. In which you're always hoping you're going to hear a gobble or two. When you first strike some calls.
It's got to be there.
Well, anyway.
We were pretty confident in
Well,
where we were at because the year before it was the same
That's what I
exact
had
thing
on my
happened.
head. Right here. It's part of my ghillie suit. But I ended up.
Oh, that's
having-
on YouTube.
I had the head part of it, the head net part on,
Mhm.
which was large.
So Ernie's in the tent. You're outside.
Right.
So you started the calling.
And it was like,
It's quiet.
yeah, it was quiet. And I just started, like how I normally start sometimes. I don't want to be real loud in the morning, But like I say, morning isn't my favorite time, you know what I mean, as far as, turkey. I've been around long enough to know, you can make them gobble in the morning, you can put them to bed, you can do what you want, but if there's a hen around and you can do whatever you want, and it's going to be like, that ain't good enough, dude. You know what I mean? Turkeys will like take them away. She'll take them away, and you'll sit there and you're all amped up. They're gobbling and everything's good. And all of a sudden it's just like, it's a done deal. They're gone. So when we're sitting there, and I do a little bit of soft calling, just kind of, listen. Pretty soon we heard a bird, didn't we?
Yeah,
Gobble.
it
was
15, 20 minutes or so, and we're sitting there. Well,
and we didn't
just sit here a while.
We weren't really sure too where it was.
When I first heard it, I didn't even know if it was a turkey. I just was hopeful.
Yeah, and I'm going like, man, was that gobbler? Well, it could have been. So
Well, the next time it gobbled, we
give him a
were
little bit
pretty
more.
sure.
And it was like, oh yeah, that's gobbler. So okay. So then I think we just kind of sat there for a minute, and then it gobbled again.
Yeah, you let him make
the
move,
I made him
and then you give him a little bit,
and then I figured, well, okay, I'll give him another, little bit, and then he gobbled again, a little louder, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Kept getting louder, And I said, I think he's listening, he's coming, Man, and the next one it was like, I give a little call and. Man, he was getting there, he was coming.
right over your shoulder.
Yeah, it was over my left shoulder, man. And it was loud, and when you can tell when the turkey's coming.
So did you have the camera on at that point, or is that when you turned it on?
Oh, yeah, I reached up and
I think when the
clicked
gobbler, when he started gobbling and coming, he had turned everything on.
You can see in the video, like when that turkey gobbles that close, Frank has the Tacticam on him, and he shivers like the turkey gobbles.
Yeah,
He flinched.
He
flinched.
got a little flinch going on.
Well, because he couldn't.
But
he didn't want to turn. He couldn't see him yet.
Turkey didn't see that though. You know what I mean? He didn't see the flinch.
He just saw a bunch of stuff.
He should have seen the flinch because it made a bad deal for him. I'll tell you that. But right after that happened, it was like, man, I could tell when they're close like that. He was back to my left though, and he was actually in the field where
come through that edge of that.
Where I missed that turkey last year. And I said to Ernie, I said, he's in Drew's field, and it was like he gobbled twice right there, Mm-hmm. And then next time I hit the call, it was like he was over here. He wasn't here no more. He was like here, And I'm going like,
he had already seen the decoys.
Oh yeah, he's here. He's coming, And I couldn't see him yet though, but
right, because you weren't turning.
And I had the camera on though, and I couldn't turn the camera either. That was the thing that got me. I'm going like, we're gonna get what we're gonna get. You know what I mean? Because I got the camera on. I'm recording and everything. But I can't reach up.
Well, one of the difficulties of hunting under COVID-19.
Right, I could have been in the tent with him.
I really, to be honest with you, I didn't think it was going to go as well as it did this year.
Well, no,
based on that.
The one thing is though, like, even if you were in the tent, you probably wouldn't even be able to see him because, like,
right,
like if you
he
fast
wouldn't have
forward
got
to our hunt,
right, our hunt.
Well, and that's why I was going to say, like, just hold on just a minute because I want to kind of break this up. But so for you, Ernie, at that point, could you see that turkey, or what were you thinking? Because there's all this gobbling. Like,
I only had a front view out of this. I had a wide front view. I had no corner.
Right.
So I'm just waiting, and I knew that turkey. He gobbled twice with no. Frank didn't have to call, and I knew he was extremely close.
Right.
And so I was just tight stringing it, and Frank seen it just before I did.
Right.
Then it came into the picture, And he just did the penguin walk up there,
Right.
poking and all, trying to make the other bird back down or something. I don't know what, but
He was sneaking in, tiptoeing on him.
and from here you folks can watch the video and see what happens to the rest of it.
But so when you finally saw him, like, like, again, you can watch the video, but you can see Ernie's breathing. Like, it's funny because on all the stuff, having it on video is so cool to see, like the like emotion or like the intensity.
As soon as I know it's a shooting animal or a shooting bird, I get eyes like a frozen perch.
Big eyes.
I just lock in. But I get a little bit of an adrenaline rush, It ain't like shooting a 10-pointer or something, but it's kind of a game on little rush. It's pretty cool.
See,
what I wanted to do though, for what I learned from last season, thanks to Frank, listen, we got time, because even after he shot last year, right, that bird, he almost got another shot, but so I wanted it to come up and do some things.
Right.
And then when I had a perfect time to draw, and it just worked out.
Right.
And so John was filming for Frank, actually, in this same spot, and got the show of all shows, and Frank never saw the turkey.
Right.
And that's one of the things I want to get into here a little bit later, but like hunting out of those tents, I feel like so constricted.
The one thing, that's why I like to take my tent and I do it kitty corner. So and then I shoot out of it might be a little bit restrictive, but I shoot out of the corner.
Triangles.
So then for one, it gives me a better drawing, because being 6'3" and big wingspan, it gives me a little more elbow room back behind me, but also it gives me more field of view.
Well, that's the thing. You don't think about the setup,
Well, that's the only tent we have, to be honest with you, that's set up the way that tent is. So
Right.
we didn't have that ability.
Right.
And,
So
to have
put
that.
the decoys out there,
Not to get off on too much of a tangent. So then that bird comes in and then,
But
walk us through. So the people that haven't seen the video are...
Well, after I'd seen it and locked in, I knew Frank was on it, and I was trying to, I had the 2 Tacticams going, so I'm just trying to make sure I'm trying to get some film off my head on the Tacticam.
And you guys, not to cut you off, but you guys put the decoys how far out in front of the tent were they?
16 yards.
Yeah, 16 yards.
And what was the reasoning on that?
Believe it or not, it lined up with, there was 2 old 2-tracks that went over and went around each side of a sand blow where there was a bunch of tracks, a ton of tracks and some dust bowls, and then a 2-track that went to the north, an old trail.
Right.
It's like a center.
So you were
So
setting it up as a
from
point of
those
view.
decoys,
Center
they
point
could
of view,
see
you know.
down each one of those.
Right. Okay.
And then when I set up the camera, I could get both. I could get the 2-track going out to the north. Then both of the other 2 tracks, I could come around to the tent. And get.
My longest shot would have probably been 25, 26 yards.
Yeah.
Had they come out in any of those locations. That would have been my longest shot.
Right.
So we were pretty happy with that. Last year, we kind of found that they sometimes go right to the decoys.
Well, they did that.
They did that
Like
this
a
year
lot.
too.
Like
Yeah.
I said, it was like
But
And the decoys that you had out, you had a full fan.
we had a
big
nice tom and 2 hens.
2 hens.
And it appeared as what he did. He didn't come in and he wasn't really aggressive. He come in. I think he wanted to see what that other tom was going to do,
What'd you call
because
it?
he'd take little penguin
Short stuffing.
penguin. He'd take a couple penguin steps, and what I was trying to do, we're getting the good footage, and I just decided if he gets his head behind the fan of the decoy, I can draw. He got like that far, and this noise happens.
Right, about
In
3 inches.
Yeah.
He had about 3 inches to go.
Yeah. And all of a sudden the bird come 3/4 of the way out of his strut and look back there, and I started tight stringing. I said, if he starts walking,
Right.
I'll try to get a decent shot. But sure as heck, it didn't take long. And when his fan started spreading out, I was in great shape. And then he just turned and did
And he
the
made
circle
He made
Right.
it spin
and spun away. I had plenty of time to draw.
called the death spin.
And then he come out to a angling away position. I don't know, 45 degrees.
Right.
And then when the tail feathers came down, I had my 20-yard pin. Shooting at the club, I realized I want to shoot it like an inch or so high of dead center on this bird.
Right.
Yeah.
So I put my pin dead center in my 20.
Right.
And fortunately, I pulled tight, the bow went off, and it ended up being perfect.
It was perfect.
Yes, that's one of the things, and I told my buddy Jason too. Like after my shot, I shot my bird twice, but after my second shot and after cleaning that bird, you want to err on the high side because all the vitals and stuff are up around. They're like right on the back side of that.
Yeah, if you go low, it's
If
just
you're going low, you're going right through the breast.
Yeah,
It'll
gut.
kill them,
It's
but
gut.
they're going to get away.
It's gut though.
Well, yeah,
breast
not even
down,
that.
I mean, if you're shooting down,
Guts
at the,
way
at the
down.
top of the legs,
Yeah, that's even
that's worse.
like so. So you end up like cutting the top of the heart right off.
Yeah.
And he
He went 14 yards. Well, I stepped it off.
Yeah.
But as you watch the video, he just opened his wings and ran.
Right.
Stumbled, almost fell over, went just a few more yards, turned, and went down with his chest on the ground, wings out, never flopped, stood there a little bit, and then the head goes down and touches the ground. That quick.
Yeah. So you
It
just
was amazing.
right.
Turkey
So-
died within like 10 seconds.
If that, yeah.
So
That was
good, clean kill.
Oh,
Yeah, it
and
was
never.
amazing.
And you know what? All the turkeys I've killed over the years and had call for people and they've shot. That turkey never flopped. Never flopped.
when you
one
used
time.
to shoot them with guns, you headshot them, right?
Yeah.
And as you know, chickens, you can cut the head off, they can run around the yard.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, these turkeys are doing the same thing, but a lot different if you
Body
Cut their
shoot,
heart off?
take
you
and
what,
shoot them through the boiler room.
Two blade rage in the chest, man. I mean,
Rage
that
in the
was-
cage.
Yeah, that was it, man. That dude, I'm telling you what, that's the quickest I ever seen a turkey die. I mean, and I knew it when he hit him. Man, I said it right on camera. I said he smoked him.
Yeah.
I knew he did.
I think you hollered. You smoked him, Aaron.
I
You smoked him.
I might have hollered it 3 or 4
And Ernie's like,
but and then turkey goes out there and he just kind of nose dives and spins to the left, like that. And Ernie's going, we had to give him some time. I'm going,
His head was
what?
still
I said,
straight
I
out.
can't hear you. He goes, we had to give him some time. I'm going, turkey's dead, Ern. And his head, I had it on camera. He just went down. He's dead.
So, I mean, it's a awesome. You guys got it on film. You did the whole thing, but if we're trying to help the listener or whatever, other than just saying like, yeah, we killed one. Like, what do you think? Like, was the setup? Like, why do you think that worked the way that it did?
Well,
not the shot, not anything like that, but like that situation, that turkey, that calling sequence, whatever, because
you don't know though. I mean, as far as because we'll revert back to the other day when we had a similar setup out there, or we had the Jake out there, didn't we?
Yeah, just the Jake,
Jake
and a hen. Yep.
And how many turkeys came in, Adam? Do we think?
There were, so if you heard, a few gobbles, we heard, so we had just hunted yesterday and it was 21 degrees when we headed to Frank's house.
Right.
We heard 4 gobbles and he called in a hen. If we heard 4 yesterday, that day we heard 400.
No bullshit.
And they were, as soon as we got out of the truck, these turkeys were gobbling, and we called in, a group of turkeys, whether they were the Jakes that you had seen, or if they were, because my brother sent me a picture the next day of 6 full fan turkeys and 2 hens, and I mean, it could have been all of them that were
I really
that were
think
gobbling.
it was.
Probably were.
I really
And-
do. I think it was.
And they were close enough that like, when a turkey gobbles and you can like
Feel it.
well, you feel it, but like you hear their chest go.
Collapsing.
it doesn't sound like a regular gobble.
No,
Yep.
it
It almost
sounds
sounds like
there's
your
like
box call.
but it's
Yeah,
like,
like that
there's like a
yeah, like when I'm doing that.
yeah, and it was right there. It was like damn near shaking the tent,
Right.
and
Any
It
second
just-
I'm going, man, you're gonna
They're gonna
So-
run us over.
They're going to come. They're going to come right in here, and he's going to just like smoke these turkeys, you know.
So
And
one
it's
of the
like,
things about
God damn.
like this season that and it actually was kind of like this last year too. Like you had first season last year, and that was one of the things. It's always kind of been a gamble.
Yeah.
Whether if you get first season, and you first of all you're gambling the weather. I mean, or you're gambling to get the tag.
Right.
This year it wasn't a gamble because no one even. I mean, there were leftover tags.
Right.
For our area, but it just ended up being really good weather opening day, or even the first few days,
Right.
and leading up to that too, it wasn't bad. So we got into really good weather, and the birds were active, and obviously they haven't been messed with. So those birds come in like last year, same thing. That Tom came right into the decoys, and he was getting ready to beat up the Jake, you know.
Right.
Your guys set up. You had a full Tom,
Right.
and I was actually making comment like, man, he should trim some of his beard off or something, make him at least look like a Jake, because you know he might scare off some guys. But you had, I mean,
that turkey's 20-pound, 11-inch beard, you know.
oh yeah, I mean, he
come
come
right
in.
in there,
He was a
you
little.
know.
He was a
a
little.
little hesitant.
He didn't
you know.
come running in,
No.
No.
but he came in anyway and was strutting.
He was there, boy. I mean,
Right.
he was there.
And you know,
can see
maybe
it
he
in the
wasn't
videos,
quite ready
you
to
know.
fight or anything. He was just in there, you know, because they're still in their groups actually at
Right.
that point.
It's almost like they're doing showmanship to see
Right.
who's the hen want.
Well, he come in and
I
he
gotta
wasn't- he
outdo this
wasn't
other
like
guy, you
Adamsworth. Adamsworth wanted to whip somebody's ass last year, you know.
Mhm.
When he come in there and he's chest bumping the decoy and stuff like that, he's, you
That
know,
one was-
and I don't think he was the dominant bird, though.
No, he came
You
in
know,
quiet.
He came in quiet
Oh,
all the way across
absolutely
that
not.
field. Come up there and he's pushing on that decoy and stuff. You know, that's, you know. And this bird was like, you know, really.
But
He was
so,
checking them out.
Show you know, but he was fanning the whole time. You know.
so that was first. That was what you guys were done by 8:30 opening morning.
7:30.
Yeah,
When
it
was our-
I'm just saying, you guys were like done.
Done. Yeah,
Done
it was quick.
You know, and that's when you know you guys were sending messages
Yes.
at him,
Right.
but so then I ended up killing my bird that afternoon.
Right.
But in that situation, we had 3 toms come into the decoys and were just strutting, and you know, and then fast forward to, you know, Adam and your hunt, Frank.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we had decoys out, birds coming, and they didn't want anything to do with the decoys.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so they'd
It's a-
already been educated a little bit, or you know,
Well, you know, it's hard to say. You
Well, I
know,
can't believe how much, even when I was filming, or for you, right,
Yeah.
that they were skirting that area.
right?
And I'm going,
Right.
well, how much credit do we have to give these guys? You know, we disturbed it a little bit your afternoon there, but how much credit do we give these guys? Do they remember that and
Yeah, it's
will not come back? Because as soon as they seen those decoys,
Yeah, they're like,
and they just
you
went
guys
the
aren't
other
part
way.
of our group. That's it. No, this is COVID area, man. We're
Yeah,
you know,
no kidding.
I wonder, you know,
That big
Like,
one went all the way around us.
I've gone into areas and tried to hunt a turkey, you know, the same turkey every day, you know, over the years, you know, and yeah, they get smart, you know, I think they do, you know, small brain, but they get smart, you know, and I think it's like you have to kind of change up on them a little bit, you know.
right.
So we were kind of trying to do the same thing because we're filming, you know what I mean? It's
Right,
easier
'cause
to
we had-
do this, you know.
Well,
And-
So let's get to
yeah. So we haven't even got into John's.
Right.
You know, we're kind of jumping here and there. So you guys kill that bird, do your dance. You know, start
Do a
singing.
little song, do a little dance. No,
And
no. What did we do? I called your brother.
yeah, you can call my brother, and that's the opening line on the video. Is
Turn out the lights, the party's over.
oh, you can't take them anywhere. So you know, John and I go all over, and we had birds gobbling, and you knew where these birds were going. So
right. So
we
at
kind
that
of-
point, I'm like, well, get Frank up here to call for us.
and
And so they were getting
Well,
I'm
you were
like
still a little bit bent over the old wet slate call.
Yeah, I was a little.
Texted us, we need a caller. We need a caller.
So,
and by the way, we are very fortunate that we have someone that's got, oh my God, an amazing caller in Frank. His experiences.
He talks turkey.
Oh
He's
my
a turkey
gosh.
whisperer.
He hunted them when they weren't popular. Let's put it that way. When they weren't everywhere.
Right.
You had to travel like crazy to find turkeys.
So we set up at first, we got too close to them. We moved the tent a little bit, went up north of that area, try and get up closer to that private.
You were in the tent?
Yeah. And when I was doing the sneaky peek.
Yeah, sneak in the tent.
And, but then that's when the birds stayed on that private, and then they were cutting her out. So what we should have done at that point, well, what the plan was, I'm like, we'll cruise around, we'll get up on the pipeline, and we'll just check it out, see if we can hear some birds. We got up there, we ended up setting up, and then
we had birds gobbling, and then we had birds. Basically, I don't know if they were coming to our calls, but they were making their way over where you had seen them, and so then we were like, all right, well. Frank's texting us, hey,
that's when you were already there.
Yeah, Frank says, where are you guys at? Yeah. So then we start moving over there, and we didn't even barely get to the pipeline. We kind of peeked out there, and a bird gobbled like he was looking for us. I mean, he was pretty close, but we were trying to meet up with these guys. So we said, all right.
Yeah,
we'll go.
We blew that.
Oh,
spot.
How many times in the past have you got up and moved, and they gobble right where you were after you get 200 yards away?
So then we get up to the meeting point. And it's like, dude, it's 11 o'clock. Them birds are going to be moving. We got to get going. We got to get there. Sure enough, we start going up there, and I'm like, oh, they're already there. There's the two toms are strutting right there. I'm like, so we go past them, cut back out and around, set up, and they just, they had a hen or two with them. And
yeah, I seen one of the hens go across the bottom there.
Right. And so they just kind of made their way. They were gobbling and stuff, but they just made their way out.
But I knew, the way they were acting,
they were just doing their
going around,
moving, they're, they got a hand or something,
Yeah. So at that point, we're like, well, let's. I didn't bring any sandwiches or anything with me that day or anything, so I'm like, let's regroup.
Well, we came back here to the studio.
Back here and watched the video.
Well, yeah. So I went home.
Yeah, I went home and got some pizza.
Yeah.
I went home, made some sandwiches. I ended up having to set up the power washer for my wife because she wanted to do some chores. And then we get back here, and that's when, I'm like, well, ready to go, and we ended up watching the footage.
Well, and here's one of the other things on that is, so at this other place, we have there's a cell camera out there. And at like 12:39, I got a picture of one turkey on there. And I couldn't tell what it was. It wasn't a very good picture. And it was the last picture that got sent before the batteries died. So it was like, well, there is a turkey over there. Let's go over there and see.
Right.
And so now we're back here at the...
And we had a tent set up
at
there.
We
set a tent up there.
Yeah. And we brought another tent. So we set up two tents right next to each other.
So, anyway, we're here at the studio, and what I'd like to call dilly-dicking around. We're watching the Hagrid. I mean, it was good footage. Obviously, I wanted to see the footage, too. And then we had to show Aunt Terry, and we had to show this, and we had to show that. I'm like,
we had to do it in slow-mo. We had to look at it from every single camera
angle.
Are we going to get going or what? So, finally, we all right, take off all 4 trucks, convoy over to this small property. We get out, and I'm telling Adam, I'm asking him, have you got any pictures? He's like, no, I haven't had any pictures since that one. I'm like, well, I hope we don't go down there and spook these birds. I'll be pissed if they're already down there. So we start sneaking down the trail, and we're about 80 yards from it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, Adam's like, down! Everyone, there's birds!
Down! Get down!
I'm like, God damn it! You gotta be shitting me. So we sit there for a few seconds, and Frank's like, well, let's just... We didn't spook them.
They just kind
of...
They
went off.
They weren't alarm putting or nothing,
right.
you know.
They just kind of strolled off. He's like, well, let's just get in there, get your tent set up, get the decoys out, get settled in, and then we'll start, calling, and maybe they'll just, filter back through.
And we've got 4 guys,
right?
2 tents, all separate. So
right.
How many cameras?
Fuck.
7.
We had
7 cameras.
6 on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Frank didn't turn the one on
his
where we were calling.
He had met his quota for filming for the day.
Because the squirrel was fucking.
Well, I mean, you can set the stage. I mean, there's this opening of an old gas line.
Yep.
Decoys are out there 12 yards, 10 yards.
Not even 10
2
yards.
tents tight together. A little bit of brush. Frank and I on a big old dead tree. I'm leaning against it, and he's leaning against another tree, 25 feet back. Basically, that was what we were doing there, and you're thinking, well, man, that's too much. Well,
so I get my tent, and I'm pretty discouraged at this point. I'm like, man, we done fucked this place up, So I sit down, and it was really super windy, actually.
Oh, yeah, it was blowing like a bitch.
And so my tent had those little straps and it's buzzing, and I'm unzipping, and I'm sticking shit in it, and finally I get it. Matter of fact, I still have a freaking granola bar.
It is still
stuck up in the roof of my tent.
It is.
But anyway, I end up sitting there and eat my sandwich. I didn't even take my camel sweatshirt off.
No head net on.
No, I mean, I knocked an arrow. I threw my quiver up against the wall. I didn't take. I mean, my number one.
Take
rule.
Another arrow.
I always tell all these guys, listen, always have a second arrow ready.
Right.
And so I'm shooting the Magnus bullheads, but then I'm also, my secondary arrow it's the same, 34-inch arrow full length, but I just switched over and put a dirt nap shred head on it.
Shredder.
And so it's the same weight. I got the, it's the 125 grain with the, it's the 100 grain head with the 25 grain in weight on it. So it shoots the same pretty much. So that's my backup arrow. Well, so I throw my quiver against the wall. I'm sitting there, kind of stewing, eating my sandwich. I can hear Frank out there. He's, just soft calling. When I get done with my sandwich, I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I hear, ew, ew. I'm like, and it was a little bit farther away. I'm like, that wasn't Frank. So I pop up and I look out the back window, and sure enough, I see 2 hens and a jake, just on the other side of the log, coming back down the trail from Frank, right behind Frank and Ernie.
And so I'm in the tent next to John, and he's like, they're coming.
I'm like, they're coming back.
They're coming back. And so I flip on the camera, and I had heard the same thing, and it's one of those deals like we talked about earlier. I'm sitting there and I'm going, I can't tell really the distance of how far it is, and
right.
I know Frank's good at calling, and that's one thing that I've noticed this year.
The
because
wind's blowing too,
yeah,
20 mile an hour.
I've heard a lot of turkeys, like hens, like real yelps. We've been fortunate that we haven't run into any hunters or anything because we've been hunting a lot of private, a little bit of public, but we didn't.
We ran into one.
Yeah. But the calling, I've been fortunate enough now to hear a lot of turkey sound like hens,
mm-hmm.
and it seems like they're really soft compared to like the way that we.
Well, way soft.
I mean, just
Yeah.
But noticing that, so John says, here they come. So I flip on the camera, and no sooner do I flip on the camera, and I'm listening, and all of a sudden I just hear, and these 3 birds come like lightning fast. I mean, they're closer than John and I are right now. Like,
right.
And I don't know if it was.
I think it was probably one of the greatest videos I've ever seen. But I'm not bullshitting you guys.
You guys thought they were going to come right between the tents, and there was a foot.
Well, before that, though, you guys got to go. You got to kind of scan back. Ernie and I are on this log, and I'm calling. I'm farting around, and all of a sudden Ernie goes, "Mother fuck. He goes like that, and I turned and looked at him, and he's 6 feet, right? 6 feet. I said, what? He goes, do you see that? He goes, what? This is the biggest fucking fox squirrel I ever seen in my life. He said it was right on the back of my head. He goes, and I looked on the log, and this son of a bitch it was like a huge house cat. No bullshit.
That was a big squirrel.
He's facing away from this, and I'm going
scared the hell out of me.
Oh man, it is. It's huge.
I bet you that was like no shit. 3-4 minutes before those turkeys came.
Right.
Oh, it was like right after that,
Right.
the shit went down.
So as soon as I looked back and seen those birds, and I, hollered over to Adam, I was like, oh shit, I don't even have my head net on. So I'm like, put my head net on, throw my hat on. Before that, I fired up the cameras.
Right.
Because I had one on the side wall, and then I had the Tacticam on my bow.
Right.
So I get those going. I get my head net on, put my hat on, and I'm like, I think I might even, I don't know if I didn't even put a glove on, I don't think. Maybe a glove on my left hand. But here I'm sitting in the black tent.
Down pretty quick.
Right. I'm sitting in the black tent, and I got my camouflage sweatshirt on that I like, because I, like when I'm walking through the woods, normally like after dark, like in the morning I'll walk out in the black. But during daylight hours, I don't want to be walking around out in the black with a black shirt, so I have some kind of camo on, a coat, and then I have like my Under Armour, black long sleeve shirt.
In realization, okay, you're sitting in the tent. How far were the decoys from you?
Not even 10 yards.
Okay, 10 yards. And when they came in, dude, you think they looked in the tent?
No, but that's the thing.
I'm just saying.
Well, you don't know.
But what I'm saying is you had time to draw the bow, you know what I mean? If you look at the cam that's on you.
Oh, yeah, I was drawn back for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And I had movement. But the thing is, there was 3 of them, and they were all preoccupied with that setup.
Yep.
Now, had it been a single bird coming in, like an Ernie situation,
No.
because I had that happen when I've killed one before, and it was a single hen and a single tom that came in, and when I drew back, the hen spotted me.
Well, that's multiple birds like that, but when you have toms, I think they're just fixated. Well, we had other birds.
Well, yeah, there's a hen coming in, and Jake.
Well, to the right of where Adam and Johnny was, there was a Jake and a hen.
But
I think
my whole point is, though, I like to be
too.
When you're inside the tent, you want to be blacked out.
Yep.
Right.
Because
that's
gonna, and here being, like I was like frustrated and I didn't even get ready, and so I get everything set then, and and I'm like kind of looking through, and all of a sudden I hear the same thing Adam's talking about. I hear this. I'm like, holy crap! It sounds like it's coming between us, like right next to us.
Close.
The one thing, I didn't see 3 toms when I looked out the window. I just seen, the the Jake and the hens, or the 2 hens and the Jake. So I was thinking like, well, I really don't want to shoot a Jake on opening day, but I'll do it for our show. So I look, and they walk right next to Adam's tent. Like all of a sudden, I look out and I'm like, oh, that's 3 longbeards. So at that point right then, I still had my screen and stuff. So I try to draw back as slow as I can, and then they get right into the decoys. And I'm like, well, this is where that corner window.
Yeah.
I have, the center post. And so I'm like leaning, and I'm like, well, the one in the middle. One in the middle. Like, nope, one on the right. I'm like, nope, one in the middle. The one in the middle, he's looking right at me. But he was like kind of strutting, and he had his head really like crunched up. Well,
what's really weird too is I'm back there looking between the 2 tents, and I knew that dude was gonna get it, man. The dude that was strutting,
right?
But he was cocked off a little bit to the left, and I goes, that man, he's gonna shoot that dude, that turkey right there,
So then that one on the right, the closest, the one that was full strut the whole time, he ended up like turning back around. I'm like, all right, well and then he ended up facing right at me, and he was, his neck was not fully extended,
About midway, yep.
Yeah.
And I'd been practicing, in my tent, 5 yards, 7 yards, everything, and I knew that if I just put it like right in the middle of his neck, and regardless if he was 15 yards or 7 yards, I would have a kill shot. I should have, at that range, I should have just put it right on the top of his head.
Yeah.
But I put it right in the middle, just being safe, and I don't know if it was like super windy or I might have pulled it a little bit, but it was a little bit to the left.
Or just a little excitement,
Well, I think at that point, I'd been holding for a long time.
I know. You can see it. You can see it in the video where you were holding inside the tent,
And so, and I went through the whole shot process. I held on it and just, squeezed through it, and it went off. And, man, it was like a freaking Mike Tyson throat punch, man. It was just like, boom. And he, like, kind of almost like knocked him back.
Oh, it did.
And then he like spun around and he
flipped completely over.
And I was like, but he got up and like took off. I was like, what the?
He kicked the shit out of that decoy.
And so
he knocked the hen
over. But so at that point I'm thinking, well, I know those broadheads, if they're not, a body shot. They're not for a body shot. When you hit them in the body, they're not gonna. It's not gonna be fatal.
I don't think they're that durable.
No, not to mention that when I built that arrow, it's a 660 grain arrow.
Right.
So it's just a Lincoln log coming out of there. Right. And I'm shooting it out. I ended up shooting it on my target bow, and I had it turned down to about, I think, 56 pounds, so I could get it, to fly decent, fly good. And so I was like, at that point, I'm like, shit, grab another arrow. Well, now it's in the quiver, but, I didn't fumble around like Frank. At that point, I was just like, ripped it out, reached down, grabbed my release, and I had to get up on my knees, and I, like, scooched out, and then luckily I had that side window, the way I had it set up, I could still get a shot out that side window.
Well, the bird ran over there, 15 yards, and he stopped.
Right, and looking back at the first shot's what killed him.
Yeah.
The second shot just,
slowed him down.
Slowed him down a little bit, but
he was sick. You could see he was sick, and you could see it,
bleeding bad.
Really
bleeding. If you guys look at the video and stuff, you'll see that there's blood. Well, even the pictures.
Basically, you cut half his neck off.
Yeah, it broke the blade. I think what happened was the way he was like set up like that. And that one blade hit him, it snapped it off.
25-pound turkey, too.
Yeah.
That's a big bird. He's got a big neck.
Bird.
He got a big wrist. You look at your wrist,
Right.
That's his neck.
So
we say 25. It was weighed.
When all this happened, so John tells me, here, get ready. I turn the camera and I hear, I go out the window, and then all of a sudden, boom, there's turkeys there. And it was like, it was a blessing that they were so close and that they were right on the decoys, because I swung the camera and I zoomed in so I didn't get the tent window in there, and I didn't have to choose like which turkey because they were all in the viewfinder. They were all right there because I was like I have no idea.
And that was the other thing I'm thinking. I'm like, man, what if Adam's on the one on the right? Because I'm thinking, because that's the one that's all going through my head too.
Goddamn close, you didn't matter.
Well, it could have, like, if he was zoomed in, in a tight frame.
I don't think
so,
though.
Being that close, it would have been tough. But, yeah. So that's all going through my head. I'm like, well, what if he's on the one on the right? And that's the one he's most likely going to be on, because that's the one that's all full strut. And so, luckily, it worked out.
But, okay, so and we've put, like, so on YouTube, there's just a teaser. It's just the GoPro footage that we set out. And again, we were just so close. Like, the turkey stepped over the one camera. Yeah. Like, they ran right on top of it. We couldn't have made it any better.
2 went on the left and 1 went on the right. And they were that close together.
Well, what they don't understand is the log that me and Ern were leaning up against.
They went over it.
About 8 feet to my right. Every one of them jumped on
it. We had that squirrel on the log.
Thump.
Yeah.
And they were just running.
They ran over that log.
Right. Yeah, you can see that in the far camera footage.
Right.
But I wish I'd had
Yeah.
When I seen it, I was had one of my eyes.
Well, I was looking at the camera because I had they were done with their cameras, so we just loaded up all the cameras and we just put them all here, there, everywhere. I had one in the blind with me, and I turned it on, and I didn't even like think twice about it. And like as we were dumping cards and as I'm going back through it, like I've got me on the camera, like swinging over, and so John shoots, and like what I'm expecting, is the Slock Master. I'm expecting the head to go flying and all this stuff. Well, this was like this turkey got hit with a ball bat. It wasn't like any archery shot. Like the arrow, the arrow goes flying, and like when you watch it in slow mo, the arrow is like in an S shape. Like the amount of energy transfers.
That's not a light arrow.
No,
and so it hit something
blew my mind,
solid.
and so I'm like, oh fuck, like now what do I do? So I rip the camera, like I sweep the tripod out, and I got the camera like leaned out the window, and I'm like, I'm following one bird. I'm trying to figure out which one's hit because there isn't a lighted knock that's in this turkey, and I'm like, okay, now this is where it gets kind of crazy because I got to figure out which one and when's the next shot. And so finally I see the one that's like choking and he's in a bad way. And so all of a sudden, and that right there is like a perfect 12 ring. Like you can, when you slow it down, you can see the 6 fletch twisting and going right in there. So
yeah, I mean, and that was the thing. It's like, that arrow looked like a 12, like it was a fucking perfect kill shot. And then when I cleaned the bird, though, it was all just breast. Like, it just went right through his breastplate. I mean, it broke that was like split right off and then come out on the backside.
You think it was just a little low?
Yeah. And that was the thing, too. The one thing with the difference between the way those two heads flew is the shred head was like, that one was more dead on.
Well, you said something about you had to make a mental adjustment when you shot that second arrow.
Yeah, and because those bullheads had a tendency to they'd go up and left. So they were like planing up and left. I don't know if it's like the P factor on an airplane because that thing was twisted so hard with that 6 fletch. It was just like climbing. Wow. But so I had it sighted in for the bullhead, but and I tried doing the remembering
Kentucky
the mental,
windage.
Yeah. But I mean, it was more of like I need to get another arrow in it just in case.
Right.
And so,
under the circumstances, I think you did rather well.
But here's another thing too. I mean, you guys, everybody wants to head shoot him with a bow or whatever. That's fine. Ern and I shot a couple of turkeys with 2-blade rage. How long did it live, Ern?
Not very long.
Not very long.
Just depends on what you want to do.
I'm just saying.
I'd love to have seen the head come flopping off that thing.
Sure.
But here's there's also I mean, like I said, you want to err on the high side because
right.
I mean, this is a whole other my buddy Jason and his buddy Jason. They went out and they're hunting on a little private section. Jason's the second Jason number 2, we'll call him, his property, and they call in 2 toms, and they're doing their social distance. They each have their own tents. They're set up about 20 yards apart with the decoys in between, so it's a triangle, right?
Not like right between them, right? Triangle.
No, a triangle. No, yeah, they're not playing pickle. No. So set up in a triangle. Well, the birds come in, and the first one starts beating up the decoy. I mean, literally, it knocked them right down. And so my buddy Jason, number 1, he's like, I draw back. He's like, he gets done, like, beating up on the decoy, and he's like, standing there facing right at me. And he's like, so I just put my pin right on his beard. And he's like, settle in, goes off, and the bird just freaking drops, like wings out, down on the ground. And he's just like done. He's like, So he's sitting there waiting. Well, that other bird, he ends up going over and starts beating on the Jake. And Jason number 1's like, what the hell's going on? Why isn't Jason number 2 shooting? Well, he ends up, the bird that he shot ends up getting up or like crawling off. Like there's a brush pile back behind it. And it gets into the brush pile. And then the other Tom goes in with it. And finally, Jason number 1 texts Jason number 2, like, what, you didn't want that bird or what? He's like, I was waiting for you to shoot. I shot the first one. He's like, well, so did I. They both shot at the same exact time, and the arrows hit the bird at the exact same time. Jason number 1 ended up cutting off like a half of the beard. Like he was like an inch low on the beard. Cut off part of the beard. Went right through his, breastplate. And Jason number 2 shot him right through both drumsticks.
Oh, Lord.
So the bird ended up like, both his legs are broke. And he's got an arrow through his breast. I mean, and it shish kebab. So it somehow like hobbled into that thing. And they sat there for like a half hour trying to get that other bird to come out, to get a shot at him. And finally they ended up having to go in there and the bird that they shot was still alive. They ended up having to, wring its neck and kill it. So had it hit like Jason number 1 shot or number 2, if both of those guys would have been a little bit higher, so they weren't through the vitals. Obviously, the bird was going to die, but they were just low. You're thinking, oh, that's right where it needs to be. But
so what I wanted to say about your hunt there, John, for guys that are listening, again, cool story, great video. But as far as like a takeaway from that, right, is that it didn't really matter that we kicked those birds off. Like that was their place, right? That's where they like to hang out. So
yeah, so we did the right thing by just we were coming in quiet, sneaking in, and then just getting down. We pushed them off, but they didn't know what we were. We didn't.
You didn't spook them, like
right. And so getting in, and just getting set up, and then just giving them a little bit of time, and then start doing some soft calling. That was like a congregation, place for them to congregate.
Well, it was so windy, that day.
A little breezy.
When I called, I figured they better, something they could hear, So
Right.
I hit a box call. And then after I hit that box call, I think it was like, wasn't shortly after that, you could hear them hens yelping, and I'm going like, oh, man, shit's going to happen.
I seen them just before that, too.
Yeah.
Because I told you, I said, birds are coming.
Yeah, that
So
was pretty damn cool.
that, like I said, practice. Like if you plan on shooting like the bullheads or the guillotines, any of those, headshot arrows, practice. And the other thing too is in that tent, and I ended up. Luckily, I brought my cushion along because at first, if I would have been sitting down on my seat without the cushion, I would have ended up shooting the tent with that broadhead.
You have to take all that in consideration. I think, guys, here's a very important point: set your tent up, get your seats set up, get your target set up outside,
Right,
and see where.
and that's I did all that.
You draw your bow. Make sure your damn broadhead ain't gonna hit the tent. You know what I mean?
Right. And then also, I mean, you can do that in your yard like I did, and I was fine. But then when you get to another spot, and the lay of the land's a little different, and you might be down a little bit, and then the tent's a little higher, then that you just have to be,
well, just in a plug that we don't have anything to do with them or whatever. But like, what's that chair that you have, Ernie? Blackout. That chair is freaking awesome as far as like comfortable, because I was sitting in this shitty ass chair, and we switched, or we moved areas, and John was outside the tent, I was in the tent, and we got set up on this field edge, and I drew my bow, and I'm like, I can't shoot out of this tent. I'm like, check this out. Like, can I shoot? And he's like, no.
You're gonna put it right through the side sidewall.
Right.
So we switched.
Yeah, I
out
got
for that-
boned on that one.
for the
I got the
blackout.
shit chair.
And then he puts it in there, and you can adjust that up and down. You can
It's
adjust
just
the
like
angle.
a tripod.
Yeah,
it-
exactly like a tripod, and then it's got the Lazy Susan built into it too, and I love that because
Yeah,
it's just
The only
way
thing
better
is
than sliding
it's-
around on something.
it's pretty hefty.
yeah,
it's a heavier-
formidable.
And my daughter, Adam's wife, said the only thing that would be better if it had a goddamn headrest.
Yeah, but that's to your
So-
point, is making sure that you can shoot
Yeah.
out of that, because
you want to make sure,
Right. And that, like I said, I tested all that stuff in the yard, and I was testing with the Tacticam too. But like I said, in that setup,
right.
the way the blind laid on the
Your angle
on the
was
ground,
tighter, yeah.
right? So all the footage from my Tacticam was basically in the edge of the tent. I didn't
Yep.
even get any of the footage.
Yep.
So
And that's, stop and think about it. We set tents up, not you guys, but us. We set them up here, we set them up there. Then all of a sudden we go in there to hunt. It ain't the same as our luck.
right.
So
Right.
you gotta, you have to take everything into consideration.
So overall,
especially with the ball, gun. Hey, Adam, gun.
yeah.
How many turkeys would it would have been?
Well,
Boom.
well, when we
done
get into
deal.
like my season, because I mean, you guys basically did. You went out and the first turkeys that you saw, you killed. I mean,
Right.
for the I mean, you didn't shoot them off the tree, but
right,
but
I didn't roost shoot 'em.
but to be honest, like my season this year, and there's going to be a part 2 to this episode, so we're going to wrap this one up here in just a second. But for me, like if I was gun hunting, it would have I would have never got all of the fun experiences and everything that I've done, because every time out except for Friday, I had turkeys in front of me, and they'd
That you
all
couldn't kill.
and they'd all been dead with a
Dead.
shotgun, and
Dead.
there were turkeys out in front of me that I maybe could have, should have shot at. I keep having to say shot at because I'm not all that confident.
I think the biggest thing that you look at, is all the turkeys over the years that I've called, and call for people. We used to, just think it was cut and dried with a gun. If you get one in about your gun range, boom, they're dead. Now it's like we're trying to film these turkeys. We're trying to shoot them with a bow. It's like
Trying to head shoot them.
yeah. It's like this is a whole different deal.
I mean, when this gets real easy for us, then there's only one thing to do:
yeah.
At Laddle.
go to the big blowgun.
Yeah, we're going to have to blow on these turkeys, you know what I'm saying? We're going to have to get a hold of
Shoot
Tim
right in the
Wells,
eyeball.
and
Shoot
get
him in
him
the
over
eyeball.
here. You get
But-
hold of Tim Wells, and we're going to get him over here, and he's going to have us, we're going to blow on these things.
But so with what we had for this season, for that first season, obviously it really couldn't have gone any better. 2 turkeys on film, opening day,
With a bow,
with a
on
bow.
film.
Yeah, I mean, just awesome. So for you guys, John, Frank, Ernie, what are your takeaways? Or like, what would you say worked really well, and what would
it
you
was a
do
whole
differently?
fuck of a lot better than last year, I can tell you that.
Yeah. So
Right, Ern?
Well, I'm not going to say it was just because we changed shooters.
No shit.
But
I would say we laid the groundwork of what not to do.
Or what?
here's the deal. You know what? We took advantage of 2 golden opportunities, and that's
Right.
what happens. I mean, you have to take advantage of those opportunities when you get them, as a rule. I mean, sometimes you'll get several opportunities. But,
Right.
Yeah.
And that was the only difference, in a way. You guys were that close. I mean,
Oh man, last year it was just like I think it was just. I was anxious. You know,
got a
what I
little
mean?
excited.
I was. Yeah,
Well-
yeah.
That arrow was gone so fast. I go, Frank!
It was like, wow, there he is, it's like, ooh. I figured I was going to shoot him,
So I think we've said this before, but like for the listeners, in this situation, like learning from last year and this year, you're going to end up having time. So just take your time. Don't rush your shot.
Oh, God, yes.
When they
worst thing's going to happen is maybe the spooky won't get that
maybe
shot.
You won't get
the thing
shot.
is,
exactly.
You got the footage.
Exactly right. You got it.
You got
Right.
the great footage.
Right.
And
So, but when them birds are coming in, they're committed like that, and they're going to get into them decoys.
yeah.
They're going to, just like those 3 that did, for us, and yours, Ernie.
Yeah.
He came in and he was strutting, and unless you do something,
Completely out of the realm.
right? I mean, clank a coffee cup or something, but you're going to have time to get that, to draw back,
You're going to get that shot.
get the shot. Unless he comes in with a bunch of hens,
Right.
But even in my case, I had already drew back. Like I said, I drew back when because they come in. I seen them. They were like running towards the decoy. They were completely preoccupied with that, and it gave me enough time. Plus, I could see them through my screen window. So I just drew back, and then I was just at full draw, knowing that I was going to have time to.
But I also think, like I said, I think, having gone through for us now this a bunch of times, and like now you guys, Ernie and John, were both the cameraman at one time, and the arrow just went, and you were like, "What the fuck?" I mean, honestly, it happened to you twice.
Yeah.
That was me. I was the shooter. I totally get it.
Well, didn't we?
But now we didn't even have any sort of communication. We were far apart. But you guys were like, okay, we're gonna let this play out, and we're gonna make sure that we're gonna have time for that, and that not to say like that's why we fucked up, but like. I think from being the cameraman, I think you guys had a whole nother perspective on.
Right.
Oh, that was invaluable for me because you realize even Frank's shot, for example, when he missed, that bird just scooted a little bit and circled around that decoy and wanted more of it. Well, by the time there wasn't an extra arrow ready,
right?
But a lot of shit was happening in the tent.
Well, you could even say that same thing
And I'm
happened
thinking,
when I shot at that one
man,
with
I
no
got time.
blind. With no blind, that turkey
Yeah.
gobbled as the arrow sailed by him.
Right, the one up there at Chronicles
Yeah.
Field.
Well, that was my first filming
Oh, yeah.
episode.
But it's like we're starting to understand what you need, to look at,
Mhm.
And what you can get away with.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was like my little kind of closing point. It's just if them birds are coming in and they're committed like that, you're gonna have time to get the shot.
Don't get overexcited.
Well,
But that's hard to do.
it's hard not to get.
You know what
But
I'm saying?
don't rush your
Because
shot.
I'll tell you what, when Ern shot that bird, I'm filming him, and I knew, when the lightning bolt left the tent, hit that bird, I knew he's dead.
I mean, I get as big a kick, without a doubt, being behind the camera.
It was like I was really excited.
We'll get to that in the next episode.
Yeah.
Because there's pressure on you, too,
When I was sitting outside
when you're filming.
Frank's tent, and that big old Tom was strutting not even 10 paces from me.
And I
I'm
didn't even know
sitting-
he's there.
I'm sitting on a chair. I have a little fabric, stick in the ground blind. But I'm sitting on a chair, so I'm up above it. And I'm filming, and luckily I had my hex suit on because he had no idea I was there.
And the tent was your background?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, completely different camo patterns and stuff, I didn't have the ghillie suit on or anything,
Haggard.
So, but my heart, literally, I lost. The one thing is I had the GoPro, my GoPro on loop, but the birds were there for so long, I lost the footage of me sitting there. And when I ended up trying to call, after he had walked back out, and Frank's like, do some calling, and I'm like, I'm shaking, I couldn't even. I would have been clucking, trying to just hold my hand. I was like,
That's pretty badass.
maybe I would have been doing alarm putt or something. But yeah, I was amped up just being
Unreal what I seen on the camera, though. You know, bird right. He was right there. He's right there. You know, but just you're sitting in the tent. I don't see him. I see the hand.
That's
like,
the only tent we have.
Frank,
That you don't have
you don't
that
see the
ability
fucking
to.
gobbler right out here.
No.
He was right next to me.
Well,
So
yeah. So we'll get into that one on the next episode. Like I said, an awesome first turkey season, and successful filming, successful, hunts, everything, and in the next episode is more of the Adam and Frank what not to do show. This is like part one. All things go well in a perfect world. Part two is a little bit maybe more entertaining. So stick with us. Thanks for following along and just being along for this ride with us, because I mean it's been fun, and there's gonna be a lot of cool hunts on the YouTube channel. We got one up. Ernie's kill is up there. The GoPro footage that we're just in the ground where the turkeys are walking over, that's up, and working on getting John's hunt edited. Our Patreons have already seen the hunt that's coming up, and that's out there on YouTube. So check out our YouTube, subscribe if you haven't seen it, and stick around for the next one.